Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and the NBA actively supports their predominantly black league when it comes to social justice issues. The NFL passively supports their mostly black player association when it comes to social justice issues. It's past time for Major League Baseball to address the humanitarian, safety, and political crises that continue to impact a significant number of its players of the Latino and Hispanic demographic. And that's my confirmation bias.
Well, on a lighter note, I'm Ambassador Junior Blue. And Lakers, I might have a negative defensive rating, but I can shoot and pass, and a vet minimum sounds good to me. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Dad, and I just want to give a big shout out to my oldest daughter, Elise, who graduated from UCLA this weekend. She still has one more class left, but that's a big step. Very proud of you. Keep pushing. I will say this, though. We need to fix our African commencement ceremonies. One word, redundant. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Red O, and and that's my confirmation bias.
You stupid, man. Look, I'm Ambassador Chef Curry, and just in the past week, the stone-faced, calculated man with a sinister laugh, who hasn't gotten the same credit as his peers, is now the king of the NBA and holds the future of this league in his hands. And if you think I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard, think again. I'm talking about Rich Paul, and that's my confirmation bias.
Welcome to Confirmation Bias, hosted by the League Ambassadors. As a reminder, please check us out across all social media platforms on our handle at TheLeagueAM. Check out our website, theleagueam.com, where you can find all of our content. You can also check out our flagship podcast on the NFL 32 Kings Road and our blog spot, Diplomatic Immunity, where you, the fan, can spit your bars and drop your hot fire as it pertains to the world of sports. If you are following us or watching us on Facebook Live at the moment, please share, like the feed, share again, like it some more, tell your mama to share it. Please drop some comments and some questions within the feed. We'll attempt to address them at the end of our show in our segment, Diplomatic Immunity. Download Confirmation Bias and 32 King Road wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is under the banner, The League Ambassadors, as well as our Twitch channel, which we do all kind of crazy shit on that. We'll always give you an update when we're about to drop something, and that's under the League AM as well. This is episode 77 of Confirmation Bias. For those of you who are questioning the sinister laugh in Brother Omar's confirmation bias, let's just say some folks are giddy around here, and we will definitely get into that, see if it's warranted. This is our first show back, actually, since before Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Tonight, we will recap the NBA Finals. We'll also touch on the significance of the winner of Lord Stanley's Cup. We have some Women's World Cup to get into, and a lot of other things. So let's just get into it. But first, let's get to hot topics. And if you couldn't tell, It's about some LA shit. So let me start this with the Lakers traded Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram,
Bye-bye.
Josh Hart,
Bye-bye.
the number 4 pick,
Bye-bye.
2 other future picks,
Bye-bye.
the map to find Jimmy Hoffa's body,
Yeah.
and the keys to the Forum Club.
Take it.
For
Who?
Anthony Davis. The long-awaited trade that has been taking months to come through has finally happened. It's not completely closed yet because if the Lakers, and it's kind of a curious time to do it, but if the trade is signed off on by the 6th, then Lakers don't have enough money to offer a max free agent. But if the Pelicans are so kind to wait till the 30th of July, then maybe you do. But we're going to question if that's a good move.
Well, actually, there's another way. There's another way now.
Oh, if you also trade Kuzma?
No, if we trade the other 3 remaining players, Isaac Bonga.
See, you thought you thought when we got to the maps and shit that we was out of Caruso.
No, you can do that. But then,
so
okay, so now
so the other 3
Jones,
players that were on the team,
Jamario
if they can
Jones,
get a third team to just take them, and we have up to $9 million in cash to give other teams to actually take these players, if we can get them to take them on July 6th, then we will be able to get a max slot.
Oh my God.
okay.
So that's all we're looking for on July 6th. Talk to me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a move.
Why not?
Because you would have what, 3 players on the contract?
And you gotta understand something. That actually allows us to get more players under because we would be over the cap. So we won't be able to get as many good players. But you only do that. Oh wait, let me let you do your thing. I'm ready.
No, I mean you were doing such a phenomenal bang job.
I was. It don't matter if Les is out there, if you out there. If we can get who I want, we good. You can't run with Kawhi. You can't run with whoever.
Oh my God.
Can you run with him?
we are 6 minutes in, and the shit has hit the fan. Let me start with this, because you guys are gonna have ample time to rock off. Kevin, first question is, what should the Lakers do now, given the fact that they have 5 players under contract at this moment, and you have the 2-way player in Caruso, which makes 6, but he doesn't count against any cap, right?
No, he doesn't.
Right.
Well, I think the heavy lifting is in the future what's going to happen once free agency hits. I mean, of course, they made the deal to get the second superstar, but they have to fill out this roster to surround both AD and LeBron with not just bodies, but guys who can actually build a team with chemistry. And if look no further than the finals with Golden State and Toronto of how important depth is. So what I saw Brian Windhorst talking earlier, numbers may have changed, whatever, but I think he had corrected somebody in saying that the Lakers have around either 18 or 20 million, whatever, in cap space. And I think that the goal should be to go deeper instead of try to get a third max guy. My first phone call would be to Rajon Rondo. LeBron likes him, and he obviously has chemistry playing with AD in New Orleans. Guys like Seth Curry, will be out there. George Hill played with LeBron, but just guys on that stage that have the experience, but will be willing to take less money. But I think no matter how important your 1, 2, or 3 guy is, the 6, 7, and 8 guys win you championships, whether that be Fred VanVleet or Lamar Odom or Tony Allen, Ray Allen, guys that will come off the bench and can actually make your team complete down the stretch. And I think that's what the Lakers are going to need to compete.
Now, Les, before I ask you that same question, he mentioned Seth Curry, which is a shooter, which is something you guys have lacked. Is that what if you were to go Kevin's route as opposed to Omar's route, would that be where you would focus shooting?
Definitely. We need players who can shoot in all positions. Whether it's bringing back Brook Lopez, Seth Curry, Mirotic, any of those players who are able to stretch the floor, because we have 2 people that, they're going to have to focus on, which is going to leave wide open shots. That's why I did my little pitch earlier. So, that's how I look at it. As far as getting that 1 max player, I don't want that 1 max player to be Kyrie or Kemba or someone like that, because the rest of our team is going to look real shady. They might have to pick me up. But someone like Kawhi, though, I mean, that's hard to turn down.
To be clear, I've told the other two Laker fans here, there's only two players who I want them to go if they have a chance to get that third max. That's Kawhi and that's Klay. Other than that, I want the Lakers to build.
One of them, you're not.
Again, I know.
Yeah,
my point
so
is,
is
those
Kawhi.
are the only two players.
Other than that,
I want depth. Like, that's it. That's the only two I would consider losing that depth over.
Yeah, we joked about we were losing K's as the finals kept going.
Right.
Kenyon.
I see what you did there. What should the Lakers do? I mean, we're all in agreement. They do need to build for depth. I think it's because I feel like the Lakers are trying to make moves for that third max spot, and I think I know who the player is that they're going after. I think they will meet with Kawhi and have a conversation. I don't think Kawhi is going to come, but I think that if they have a conversation with Kyrie is going to come. And I'm not mad at that from the standpoint of you have a point guard, and I'm thinking post LeBron. You'll have a point guard and you'll have a big, and they're two relatively young guys, and then you can build and you can stack from there. When LeBron is done in 3 years, that's $40 million off the cap. So then you'll be able to add supplemental pieces. And the only reason why I like Kyrie is because he's played with LeBron, and so he knows how to play off of the ball with LeBron.
And he'll fit in as a 2 and not a 1.
Exactly.
Or maybe 3.
Whereas, initially when the deal was done, they talked a lot about Kemba, and I don't like that. I like Kemba as a player.
But not with LeBron.
Love Kemba, but not with LeBron. Not for the max, not for $32 million. He doesn't have that experience there playing with LeBron off the ball in certain situations to where it wouldn't be worth the value wouldn't be
now,
there.
This might be a loaded question, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I thought I would need to ask this. Now, this AD thing has pretty much been we knew this was going to happen based off of Clutch Sports and Rich Paul. Them and LeBron got that done. Do you trust Rob to do the rest?
And to be honest with you, I don't know. And every day that passes and as more information comes out, I question it. I do believe in his ability to identify talent and to put a team together, but I am questioning his negotiating skills. It was clear. It was okay. It was 75% clear during the season that we had the leverage. It went from 75% to 99% clear that we had all the leverage when you consider that New York never really made an offer for AD. When you know that Boston never offered Jason Tatum, number one, and number two, weren't even really interested in getting AD because they knew that Kyrie was gone. So we were the only bitches dancing at the dance. So why
And
is
you
it
took off the dress and the shoes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
that's I don't know.
I think
don't
part
know.
of the problem is infrastructure. Like, I agree with you on we know he's a good judge of talent, but they should have had a capologist on retainer to tell him, listen, this is what we can do with negotiations.
Supposedly we do have a capologist, and he was an agent.
Whatever it is, he failed. Because, but there are people who that's their only job is to tell you what you can and cannot do with the cap, and there's possibilities.
So to be fair, and this is the one thing that I have said, and that's why for me, like, and I think we're all in the same boat because we're not just Laker fans, but we understand basketball and are realistic for the most part. The thing that I kept saying, and the reason why I want to reserve judgment on all of this is you only make this move where you take off your dress and you take off your shoes if the communication has been, if the conversation has been had that said, if you're able to get AD as a max free agent, I am also coming. That would be the only thing that justifies
the problem
it.
is they had to give up those players. The only thing we had to play with was the draft picks. Because there's no way that and as much as they say they love Kyle Kuzma, I believe the number one reason they kept him was because he only made $2 million a year. If they swap him out for Lonzo, if they swap him out for Brandon Ingram, they're only at $11 million sending back when they need $21 million to send back. Mm-hmm. So that's the key reason why they kept the numbers had to match. So we could trade everybody on our team and still wouldn't have had enough salary because of all those 1-year deals. They expire on June 30th or July 1st. And we had to trade everybody just to get him. It wasn't what we had to play with was all those draft picks and the swapping in the future years. That's what we had to play with, and that's where he gave up the booty.
Well, I've known several bitches that are still going to take it off regardless of whether they know what the end result is. But moving to another topic, let's talk about the other side of that trade. What do the Pelicans do now? And maybe one of you guys have heard something more recent, but I think I heard today that Randall wants out. Like, I've already played with these cats.
Yeah, he's opted out.
Okay.
No, he averaged 21 and 8 this year.
He wants to get paid.
Yeah, he wants more than $9 million a year.
Yeah, that was our. Everybody gives Magic a tough time, and I understand it to some extent, but the reality was Randall is looking to get paid, and he had a great season. So yeah, he's opting out again. Mm-hmm. And we know who they're taking with the number 1 pick, which basically plays the same position.
Right. So Kevin, we know they're taking with the number 1 pick. They also currently, when this trade goes through, will have the number 4 pick. What do they do with that?
I think you see what you can get for. I mean, I saw earlier they were looking at possibly trading. I can't remember who has the 8th and the 10th pick.
Atlanta.
They were considering making that deal. But I think at the end of the day, that isn't necessarily their biggest concern. I mean, if I'm New Orleans, I'm focusing on, okay, we're going to go with Zion. You're going to give me Lonzo and Zion in the open court. I'll take that. Not saying that's a playoff, dynamic or anything like that, but I think they can be special together in the open court. You have Lonzo and Holiday is your 1 and 2. They can lock down most of the NBA's backcourt outside of course, Golden State and Portland. But I think that, and then you got to decide what to do with Ingram. But I think at the end of the day, they need some type of veteran presence in their locker room. I know I say that a lot, but every winning team has that. And they need somebody to be Alvin Gentry's voice on the court because I saw enough from Lonzo Ball in the shop that motherfucker's immature. So if you're going to give me a 19, 20-year-old Zion with Lonzo and a bunch of these young dudes, I need somebody on that court who has won before, who can at least instill like, okay, this is how you carry yourself as a professional. Because I've been in New Orleans. You put these immature motherfuckers down there, it's going to be a shit show.
Redo, are they a playoff team?
No. Well, no. It's not. Not in the West. If they was in the East, yeah. And the problem with New Orleans is, it's always going to be keeping their players. That certain markets, man, it doesn't matter. They will always have the same problem they had with AD. So if BI blows up this year, he don't want to get paid. He may not want to stay there. So New Orleans, it's going to be a fun team to watch, though. It might be the funnest team.
Speaking of that,
in the league.
does anyone think that, given what you just said, number 1 pick, who's the most lauded after since LeBron is coming out, a fun team, young, that maybe they might try and either stick together or people will be more attracted to go there because we've had this conversation that the world is getting smaller, so forget the market.
Honestly, the problem with sticking together is after that 4th year, people want to get paid, and you can't pay everybody. So you're talking about you want to bring in a vet leader on the squad. You bring him in at whatever cost. Then next year you're gonna have to pay Ingram because he's gonna be a restricted free agent. He averaged 18 last year with the Lakers next to LeBron. What's he going to average next to no other true scorer?
I think he plays really well in New Orleans. I after his first year out here, I said he's from Kingston, North Carolina. He's a guy that is going to flourish in a smaller market where the lights aren't as bright on him. I think he does really well in New Orleans. I think Lonzo's going to do well, especially playing with Zion and playing with Alvin Gentry. They've got a veteran there in Drew Holiday, who I think that they will indeed keep. I think for New Orleans, you do want to stay together. I think you keep that 4th pick. You take Jackson Hayes at center, and now you got
preaching Jackson.
Listen,
everybody.
I'm trying to tell you, you have a high flying team. They still got Solomon Hill. They've got Etwan Moore. They've got some veterans there. New Orleans is in a good position to be a young, fun, exciting team. Not unlike Golden State when they had Baron Davis and Captain Jack, or
ignorant, Mo ignorant.
Yeah, right.
But they're another team that needs shooters because they're gonna pack that paint like it's ridiculous.
What's funny to me though, the one thing before you go into the next thing, Dev, what's funny to me is that 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, Oh, the Lakers didn't have anything. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart. Nobody really wants those players.
We don't have the best
now,
players.
all of a sudden, when the deal is done, oh, New Orleans got a haul. Oh, they got playoffs. Oh, they're going to be exciting. The fuck out of here with all this Laker hater shit.
Well, I think it's more so the assets though, not
Eat
the
a
upside.
dick. Huh?
But now think about it. I think it's more about the assets than the upside. I mean, I don't think anyone's banking on any one of these individual players, but together on a young team with a guy like with Zion coming in. And they also, I mean, let's be honest, they probably got the best return on a trade for a single player that I can remember in modern history.
That's Kenyon's point.
That's my point, though.
And again, to Les's point, BI averaged 18 points next not fitting with LeBron. He's going to be by himself.
It's just funny to me.
But playing in LA and playing in New Orleans are apples and oranges.
Two different things. So Vegas thinks that the Lakers with this move is the favorite. Do you guys agree with this? Explain. Aside the laugh. Work's not done. You got 5 players. Are you the favorite?
Yeah, no.
As far as Vegas is concerned, since y'all don't want to take it. As far as Vegas is concerned,
it's definitely TBD.
I'm gonna keep sipping.
Sure, but yeah, I mean, it's just way too much. We literally have no idea what the NBA is going to be in 2 weeks,
and
that's not
this
how
offseason is going to be great.
This offseason is going to be bananas,
and it you know, like he said, it's up in the air, man. But we are in the driver's seat. We just have to get across that line.
Gotta pick up some passengers.
Well, I just think it's funny you say that you're in the driver's seat. I think actually Kawhi Leonard is in the driver's seat because I think the decision that he makes determines the rest of the league. If he does come west, whether it's to either LA team or if he decides to stay in the East, I think that's the league-wide
No, I'm with you. I think everybody's they're on the Clippers nuts, but Patrick Beverly has already made it very clear he's going to the highest bidder. He's going for the money, and I think the fascination with the Clippers came because it was like, oh shit, they got room for 2 max spots, and people were thinking about Kevin Durant and Kawhi or Anthony Davis and Kawhi. They're not filling that second max spot.
I disagree with what you just said, though. We have 2 top 5 fucking players in the league. We are in the goddamn driver's seat. There's not another team in the league that wouldn't want that.
I'm not going to continue that, but what I will say is that
Kawhi can go wherever the hell he wants.
You have 5 players. You need 9 more.
You think we're not going to be able to get more players?
You might not be able to with the math don't add up.
All right, we not.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's right. We might not.
Well, and the question is favorite to win the champion. The question is favorite to win the championship, right?
Yeah.
If Kawhi stays in Toronto, then the East has the 3 best teams in the entire league. As far as if all things considered, if he stays in Toronto, the East has the 3 best teams in the NBA. So I don't see how you can even feel that way unless
as constituted
we have an idea
right
what
now.
the Lakers are going to do. Well, last year you guys were going to run the Warriors motion offense all the way to the Western Conference Championship, and that didn't happen. I'm just saying, I will be optimistic. I'm optimistic for the Lakers. I'm just saying that the heavy lifting has not been done yet, and that's the biggest question.
I know one thing. Vegas had Kawhi going to Toronto, and nobody thought it was happening, but they went. Vegas got us doing what?
Did they have Toronto winning the ship?
They had Kawhi going there.
Okay, winners and losers from this.
Boston is the biggest loser.
Fuck.
You know what's funny? I have them as both. No, because if they would have made the deal, they would have been super fucked. But they're still fucked anyway.
But that's the thing. I don't think they were ever going to make the deal once it became clear that Kyrie wasn't coming back. I don't think they were ever going to make the deal
because they wasn't going to.
Because Danny Ainge is not stupid.
He's not going to give up.
He got enough.
But there was pressure for them to try and make this shit happen. I'm just saying, like they dodged the bullet.
I think honestly,
but they still fucked.
Honestly, and again, I think the pressure comes from the media. Whether you're a prognosticator or even if you're someone in the loop, where you create these narratives, and it's like, okay, Boston, Danny was making all of these moves and all of these trades because he was going to get Anthony Davis. And it's
then
like,
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So Boston
and the Knicks.
And the Knicks.
Yep. That's who I had, Boston and Knicks.
Mm-hmm. I think Boston is the biggest loser.
Forever.
Kev, you differ from that?
In terms of just the only 2 teams included, I would just say, and we talked about it, just the Lakers' depth and just the concern for the future that, okay, we've seen a team hitch their wagon to the very short future of LeBron James' success. What will happen to the roster when he leaves? Hopefully, if AD's there, he stays long term. But you could ultimately end up in salary cap hell and become Cleveland West. when you sign all of these agent vets to short-term deals. But I believe that most teams, if you end up winning a championship or two out of that, then it's worth it.
Yeah, winners definitely the Lakers, and I think New Orleans got the best they could out of it.
Oh, specifically Rob Pelinka. That motherfucker survived in advance. Whether he signed the paperwork or not.
That's Rich Paul.
Hey, but shout out to Rich Paul is the winner. Rob Pelinka's TBD.
But shout out to Griff though, because he's doing his job.
All right, time for black versus blue. Hope or hype? The Stanley Cup St. Louis Blues defeated the Boston Bruins Game 7 on the road, 4-3. Hope or hype that them winning the cup, them being St. Louis, will revitalize the city of St. Louis. They've lost the Rams. The Cardinals haven't been to the playoffs since the Rams left in 2016. You got a high murder rate. We all know about the segregation. We know about the economic downturn in the city. Will the Blues winning it in a very big sports city, will that turn it around? St. Louis. Def?
Hope, first, because that's the first ship for that franchise. I don't know about how much a Canadian sport will change the other shit.
Not at all. Hope or hype? Tyson Fury this weekend defeated Tom Schwartz in the second round. Tyson Fury, he of the Adonis Creed ring walk with James Brown blasting.
That's Apollo.
Apollos, yeah, Adonis and Apollo. You know what I mean. Hope or hype that he is the most entertaining boxer currently. Red O.
He is. And that's no hate. There's no one else clowning like him who wants to be his idol's Muhammad Ali. He wants to be entertaining and do this. No one sings after the fight. He ain't got one lick of rhythm, but he was doing his
sing for a white boy.
His Apollo Creed dance down. That
shit was hilarious.
You have to work at that, and he's good at it.
I will say quickly, I think it's hype, just because his boxing style. I will take Deontay's power, knockouts, and his crazy interviews afterward over the skill that this man has, because he's the most skilled heavyweight by far, and he does have charisma. But I think that guy was a bump,
legit,
and he only has two big fights. One was a snooze fest to Klitschko, and the other one was Wilder after coming back from a 2-year layoff, which was a draw. So,
hope or hype? The Minnesota Twins will win 100 games for the first time in 55 years. They have the best 71 game start by any team in 18 years. They have the highest winning percentage in the AL, and they are on pace to crush the Yankees' home run record in a season. Junior Blue, hope or hype? 100 wins for the Twins.
Hype, because we're not even halfway through the season, and they already falling off. They 5-5 in their last 10 games.
Newsworthy or nothing to see. Okay, you going to say something?
I was just saying, and the Yankees in Houston isn't healthy yet. Once they do the AL flips.
I'll stay with you, Kev. Newsworthy or nothing to see. The U.S. women's national team in the Women's World Cup advances to the elimination round by a combined score of 16-0 in 2 games and a golf clap. Newsworthy or nothing to see.
It's newsworthy to me because this is the closest that we as Americans get to relevant soccer, and the women they're superstars right now. I'm tuning in. I watched the little E60 special. They dope to me, so I hope they keep it going.
Newsworthy or nothing to see. Gary Woodland wins his first USGA major tournament, the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and he wins it by 3 strokes over the defending champion, Brooks Koepka. Newsworthy or nothing to see.
Not Bruce.
It's not Bruce this week.
I'd call him what the fuck I want.
He did call him Bruce. Newsworthy or nothing to see.
Newsworthy. I mean, we hear the names Woods, Koepka, Rose, McElroy, and
but not Woodland.
Mm-hmm. And we heard it this week. I mean, he hadn't had a higher. Sixth was his highest finish in any major. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's newsworthy for that.
For all those same reasons, nothing to see here.
I was about to say it's a blip.
Newsworthy are nothing to see. We're starting to hear.
Do it.
We're starting to hear whispers out of Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers and new coach Matt LaFleur are already having philosophical differences. Matt LaFleur comes out of the Kyle Shanahan school of offense. A lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of getting the defense to reveal what defense they're in, a lot of long play calling, so there's not a lot of time to make adjustments at the line of scrimmage, which is something that Aaron Rodgers likes to do, and he's already talking shit. Newsworthy or nothing to see. Red O.
All right, so I'm gonna try and be right here. Part of the problem is, and when I say right, I mean not be an asshole about it. I think he's so used to doing what he does, and I guarantee you, he didn't like it when the GM told him at the beginning of the season when they hired the new coach, "Don't be the problem." And if I'm the head coach, and you don't even make it through one session without talking shit about what you can do, without even giving it a try.
It's not even a humble brag.
Like, but can you at least wait till the season? Can you see, like, at the very least, you need to wait until you can see what you can do within the offense, because since it's a new offense, before you start doing the bullshit. And he is being the problem already. And I swear to God, it feeds every bit of my soul every time.
He held it together for as long as he could.
Green Bay Packers.
It is hubris.
Okay.
Look, I'll say it's nothing only because it's mid-June. I think Aaron Rodgers and most great quarterbacks do make their bread and butter before the snap. But I think it comes down to control and trust.
Somebody has
they're
a
going to have to
history.
build. But listen,
that.
to quote the great Jay-Z, I'm going to say this. Y'all got less than 3 months to get y'all shit. Good luck.
Hit or flop? Let's go to the state of Illinois. Because of the new sports betting law that has been enacted, talks are underway to build a sports book inside of Wrigley Field. Hit or flop, Dev?
Legal gambling anywhere is a hit.
Yes, Lord.
And more access to it.
Yes, Lord.
Unless it's that bullshit mybookie.com.
I see what you did there. Hit or flop? Joe Douglas has been named the new general manager of the New York Jets. He was the former Turk for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
Hit or flop that the Jets finally have their house in order, Junior Blue?
I'm going to say flop. He went from a scout to 3 years as the VP of player personnel to a GM. I think that's too fast for that.
Wow.
I disagree.
Yeah.
That's a hit. You're with three organizations that went to Super Bowls. 2 of them won. You were under probably one of the best GMs of all time for 14 years. And then you go into a situation where you can't go nowhere.
And finally, hit or flop? The juice. The juice is loose on Twitter. O.J. Simpson announced his arrival to Twitter this weekend.
Did he?
Kev, hit or flop on that?
Listen, this is a fucking hit. It's so much of a hit. This
buddy.
shit. I might have to get on Twitter. OJ, listen, OJ out there sending knife emojis to people, bro. I don't think he knows how, like,
he knows.
time that is.
He's sending knife emojis?
Yo, he knows.
Knife emojis,
Is
bro.
that legit? Because there's so many
his
fake
feed-
OJ accounts.
Oh my!
Let
From
me
his feed to just the response and the mentions, I'm just
me
just
tell you
gonna look
something.
at OJ's feed and just keep scrolling. 'Cause it's great.
735,000 followers in 2 days.
In 2 days.
It's a hit. Creepy ass messages. Like,
fucking
yo, I
hit.
was low key scared. He was like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna have to correct some things.
I got some
I
things.
got
Even
some
up to
Father's Day weekend talking about I'm not Chloe's dad.
Great.
How is this not a hit?
Great.
Come on.
All right, so in our final segment, I don't know what to fucking call it, so we're just gonna call it this. We had the NBA Finals that ended.
I don't know what to fucking call it, so we just gonna call it this. Our segment is this.
Final redux.
Yeah, the segment. That's the topic. So, last Thursday, the NBA Finals concluded with the Raptors beating the Warriors in 6 games.
Who called that? Who called that?
I told you 6 games.
If you
called
did
that?
because you've been calling every series they gonna lose. You gonna get it right once. So Clay gets hurt while dropping 30 points.
I called it
in
actually.
30 minutes in Game
Injuries.
6, and this is after.
No, you said the Warriors.
Injuries. Is
Okay,
what I
we can talk about this. These are questions. Clay got hurt in the end of the third quarter. He scored 30 points in 30 minutes. He was cooking. This is the game after that KD ruptured his Achilles, which we all knew that was going to happen. Now, would this be different if Clay doesn't get injured in Game 6? I'm of the opinion that, yes, I think they win Game 6, and I think they win Game 7.
I actually think they win Game 6 and lose Game 7.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the outcome would not. The outcome would have been the same. And I'm not just saying that because I picked Toronto to win, but
You pick Houston, you pick
because
He did.
the fact of the
It was
matter
going to
is,
be competitive.
the longer. Nah, I said it was gonna be competitive. Yeah, don't play me like that. No,
You played yourself.
no, because the longer the series, which we saw in Game 6,
Yeah.
the longer that the series goes, and I think Kevin talked about it earlier, with the lack of depth, it was going to be a war of attrition, and Toronto was healthy, and I think also, and Kevin, I don't know if he said it on the show, or if he said it in our chat, but you don't know how to win until you do.
You fucking win.
And I'm talking at the highest level. And, having 3 cracks at eliminating a weakened Golden State team, Toronto would have gotten it done regardless.
And I think
I wouldn't have been. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think a big thing that it was that Kawhi was able to play through his injuries because he was injured. He wasn't healthy. He toughed it out and balled
He
out.
was hurt. He wasn't injured.
Yeah, he was
Those
hurt.
two
He was
motherfuckers
hurt.
You're
were
right. No,
injured.
you're right. You're right.
I would have liked to
And
see Clay play Game 3, though. I think that might have changed the series because that's that first game home.
Yeah.
And I think we all said that's a win for them, but then Clay got hurt, didn't play that game. And
You know what it was? Golden State was balling on a budget. That's exactly what it was. They were
And look,
budgeting out games.
To your credit, though, Ken, I will. Before I say anything, I will start. Credit to you. You picked Toronto to
You
win.
saw that, right?
Credit to that Siakam pick because as inconsistent as he was the most consistent on the team despite Kawhi. But
I
at the end of the day, I do think if he doesn't get hurt, he had 30 in the third. They couldn't stop him. They were on a run when he got injured. He was still the highest scorer in that game despite not playing the last 2 minutes of the third and the fourth. But I think that Golden State wins that game, then it really puts the pressure that anyone, especially
Tight
Toronto
booty
fans, were
cheeks.
afraid of, that the game goes back to Toronto, Game 7, and they have to close out.
And
I think
that's-
that puts them in a precarious situation.
That's why I think
but
they win Game 7. Strictly.
yeah,
off
but
that.
look, I look at it like this: it took Toronto to have, and again, to their credit, but it took them to have an unworldly team game. From I think Siakam had 26, Lowry had 26 and 10, Van Vliet had 22, Ibaka had 15. That and Golden State to be at their absolute worst that we've seen them in this era. For them to beat Golden State by 1 shot. I mean, remember, Danny Green tried to trick this entire series away. We continue to forget about that play. But they still could have beaten him that game. You tell me if Clay doesn't play in Game 3 or if Kevon Looney doesn't miss time, that this series doesn't at least go 7 and go down the stretch. That's hard for me to believe.
Let's take it a step further. Would this have been different if KD doesn't play? Because I think the answer is still the same. I think yes. I think I've been on record saying this, that I think that they play better basketball.
You said doesn't play. You mean does play?
If he does play.
Okay.
If they play better basketball when he's not there. But Toronto was the better team. So KD's the equalizer, and I think it's a wash. I think they overcome because KD's healthy and he's able to play.
they win with KD in 5 or 6.
If he's there the whole time.
If he's there,
Yeah.
if he's healthy, of course, the whole time.
Anyone disagree with that?
No.
I said that.
No, and credit to Omar, though. You did say the only way this series goes another way is because of injuries. And look, you can't, at the end of the day, and Ken, I don't want to take nothing away from you because you pick your shit right. You deserve credit. But you can't tell the story of the 2019 finals without bringing up the word injuries. Like, that happens to every team. But this shit was out of the ordinary. And I think it did decide the series.
And it just goes to show you the greatness of other teams who have had 3-peats and 2 3-peats.
Yeah.
It's like it is hard to keep winning, man. You play a whole nother season after a couple playoffs and to the championships. That's an extra season on your body.
Five straight finals.
Yeah.
So what does Golden State do? They have both Kevin and Clay are free agents. Do they sign both? Do they sign one or the other? Do they let them both walk?
Wait, what should they do or what will they do?
What should they do?
Well, I think they should do what they're going to do, which is offer both of them the max.
Does anyone disagree with that?
I disagree. I personally have never seen anybody come back from a ruptured Achilles be anywhere close to what they were before. He'll be 32 before he plays again. I don't offer KD the max. Let him go to the Knicks or whoever else wants to offer him the max. That's fine. But you offer Clay the max, ACLs, it's not 1988 anymore. That's not a death sentence for your career. I offer him the max.
I mean, and KD may be going anyway.
Yeah, he may be going anyway, but the track record of 30 plus, 6'10 plus players. Now, granted, he might come back
younger.
the best.
He's younger than a lot of those more recent ones.
I mean, but still, he's going to be 32 when he plays.
He only weighs 17 pounds.
They have to
and
do
I
still ruptured.
They have to do it to save face because I think that they are very responsible for his
this.
injury.
Yeah.
And I think if they don't offer him the max, I think Chatty Cathy's going to talk anyway, and we're going to hear that
Tater salad coming out, B.
Yeah, that he was pressured. But I think if they don't offer him the max, I think that expedites that process and it ends up backfiring on the organization.
Yeah, I agree with Les. I think that you try to keep at least the core of Steph, Clay, and Dre together as long as you can. No, they're not better without Durant, but they're more viable in the future without his contract. Because I think Clay, hopefully he can return by for the playoffs, and I think they'll have as good as a shot as anybody in the West because it's so wide open. And I also think, again, not to keep harping on this, but we must go back to the fact that this crazy motherfucker got hurt, didn't want to leave the court, got halfway through the locker room, turned around, came back, made both free throws, and then tried to argue with the training staff.
It was back there jumping.
Keep him in the game.
He tried to play defense.
Yeah.
He's a fucking psycho.
And then told Steve Kerr, just give me 2 minutes and I'm back in the game.
Draymond tried to put him in the right place. But before we get out of here, real quick, the NBA draft is on Thursday. My thing is, I'm most interested in what the Pelicans do with the 4th pick. Does anybody else have anything more interesting or that they're more interested in than that?
I think there's going to be a lot of trades.
Yep. That's what
I think there's going to be a ton of trades.
Yep.
You got Atlanta that's wanting to move. You got Boston that doesn't want to keep all 3 of their picks.
Mike Conley's going somewhere.
You've got drama in Houston. I think that there is going to be a lot of trades that happen this Thursday.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think the New York basketball team is going to find a way to nick up this draft because reports came out that they did a late workout with Garland instead of them looking at RJ Barrett. So they've done it before. I wouldn't be surprised.
And you like Barrett over Garland?
I don't like either one of them, but you got to pick who you got. You got to pick who's on the board. I just think that the Knicks have a history of doing things outside the box, and they could very well do it on Thursday.
Well, we tend to do shit outside of the box, so that's why we're gonna wrap this shit up right now. When will we be back? Do we know?
Next week.
We're gonna be back next week. Oh shit, we're in the game. What that? Hey, sometimes I don't know. We get the call from high on above. Kaiser Soze tells us what to do. So that is episode 77 from Confirmation Bias. Thank you for participating. We will try to address some of your questions if we can on Twitter or on Facebook Live or responding. Download Twitch, download any place where you can look at podcasts for our 32 Kings Road as well as Confirmation Bias. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out. Drop your bars on our Diplomatic Community blog spot, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Board man gets paid.